All right. Hello, everybody. I hope sound is good. Everything's good. How you all doing? I actually wanted to address the situation in California because I think it's important because this is a classic case of live in La La Land and then get slapped by reality. And I actually wanted to gather 10 things that had happened that had been bad moves. And I really wanted to have a list of 10. Unfortunately, there are more than 10. I wanted to have 10, there are more than 10. So, all right, I can see you're hearing me. Hello, everybody. Okay, let's go through it just a little bit, just, of course, what can go wrong when you are motivated by DEI, corruption, and unproportional environmentalism. First of all, I think I'll start with the water. Who needs the water? Who needs to have in an area famous for its wildfires and just fires in general? I don't know, not all of them are wild, but fires being a dry area. Who would have thought that it would be a good idea to not have water, reservoirs of water? Of course, the fish need it. The fish need it. So once you put the fish above humans, humans are below the fish. Who would have thought? By the way, I have a great story about that, but maybe later on in the live, because there is a story in the Talmud about the Ark of Noah and vegetarianism, veganism, and things like that. And one of the things that were mentioned is like what happens when humanity puts animals above humanity, or they think they're so good they forget how to be human. All right, and then we have DI. Who needs to put people who understand what they're doing, right? At the end of as the mayor, as the governor, as the head of the fire department. Who needs a fire department head that knows that you are supposed to have reservoirs, for example? Unnecessary. Then we have the environmentalists who were like, oh, let's let nature do its thing, while they have pine trees or other kind of trees that need or burn every once in a while, and if you don't want it to go badly, then it might be you might want to control it. But no, let's let nature do its thing. Well, for those people, I mean, now it's kind of late. Maybe they had got the memo, but I actually think they didn't get the memo, because the beauty in it is that they're talking about global warming and things like that, and it's like it's a proof. No, it's not a proof. This area had always been susceptible to fires, and you know what? Earthquakes happen, volcanoes erupt, tsunamis happen, and so do fires. So I love that, because obviously the lesson, I'm gonna guarantee right now they didn't learn anything from it. Nothing. Maybe the water, they had realized that maybe we should have like reservoirs so that we can you know bring like extinguish fires when we need to. But the controlled fire things and things like that, where sometimes you need to intervene in nature, I bet then they are not even learning that. So obviously it's global warming. It's not just nature doing its thing from time to time, and you have to be prepared for it. Nope. And then what's funny, everybody wants to live next to a forest, right? It's pretty, it's nice. But the construction, I don't know, maybe not make your houses out of flammable materials. Maybe that would have helped. But no, let's live next to forests that are famous for liking igniting themselves on fire, and then let's let's do construction that is not very fire resistant. That's another kind of action. Then we have, you know what? Let me talk about the fun things of when it has to do with money, okay? So obviously cutting funds from the fire department, who needs that? Obviously cutting funds from the police, because now everybody is going out and partying, and while some people evacuate, others just go around and loot and take whatever they can and there is no police. Obviously defund the police, defund the fire department, uh, stop every act of controlling the forest, stop having water reservoirs because it hurts the fishes. You know, priorities. Have people that are trans, black, big boobed. I don't know, I'm just making it up, but people who don't have the qualifications, but their DEI segment is very robust. Put them to be in charge on everything. People who even don't know that they need water to, take care of fire. And then on top of that, who noticed what's happening? Of course, the insurance companies noticed what's happening, because they were like, oh God, we're gonna lose a shit ton of money with the way things are going. So they were like, okay, if you want to be insured, like if you want insurance, the premium prices have to go up significantly so. And they were not, if I'm not mistaken, they weren't allowed to, or it was like resisting, and now nobody has an insurance. So you lose your stuff and that's it. There is no insurance. The insurance company, they run on statistic. They cannot afford not understanding math and the reality in front of them. So they saw that coming. They wanted to raise the insurance, prices, but no. And now nobody's got insurance. Amazing. So no police, people are looting, and no water, and no fire departments, and just fun stuff. And of course, let's talk about some of the reactions. All right, I live in the Middle East. When there is fire, people in the Middle East, oh, they like chaos. It inspires them. So even though most of the time those are natural fires, you got people who are like, hey, that looks fun. And and arson, right? It's and now people got caught for trying to ignite their own fires as well. I mean, as somebody who lives in this area, I understand this is these people who like chaos. They do it for fun. You have pyromaniacs and stuff like that. They get even though I want to say clearly that I really don't think everything is arson, right? But, having people with unchecked background join your rich communities in LA. Well, if you would have asked me, I was like, if you ask Israel, like we have it every year, people are trying to add on to the party every time. And don't get me wrong, like once they see a little bit of fire, they get inspired. And they're like, oh, just a match. And of course, there are people doing that. Then you had looting. Obviously, there is no police, and there is an open border in the south, and you invited all the great people, and yeah. I mean, I guess it's local as well, because there is also drug issues. So you don't even. This is also part of it, right? You didn't only invite people without checking their backgrounds. You also brought in a culture, right? So now the white, whatever, black kids that are American are gonna look at the people that come from Africa or Israel, or Israel, like, the Middle East, because we have these people too. And I can say that usually they're Arabs or Bedouins or something, usually. But, suddenly all the local people who are like, wait, you can do that? I didn't know you can do that. Join in. Because you're also inviting a culture. A culture, because suddenly people are like, wait, you can get away with that? You can do that? I didn't know you could do that. Why not, actually? And that's how things float. And all right, so what else do we have? The mayor was in Ghana. I don't know what she did in Ghana, obviously. Gavin Newsom, the governor, had amazing speeches after. Did he resign or something? I saw something. I think he's out. But anyway, he had amazing speeches where it was like, wait, is that my job? Or something like that. Amazing leadership. And as usual, of course, we have the two types of reaction, which are classic. One is when you live in the Middle East. I don't know if you saw, but how people reacted here to 9/11, how people reacted here to anything or any, like, they passed candies down the street, they celebrated, they were like, you know, and then gave knafe to everybody walking by, and that was 9/11. So right now, Baruch Hashem, there is social media, and people just go out, and not only social media, you have also like more people from the correct backgrounds living in the Middle East and the West, and they're like just celebrating about, hey, you see, oh, we're like, this is what you deserve because Gaza is burning, so you're supposed to be burning. This is first of all, that's a mentality where, you know, instead of bringing people up or making some place better, no, they'd rather watch the world burn. These people in LA suck from my perspective as an Israeli. But from your perspective as Gaza lovers, you're supposed to love them. On average, gee, the amount of LA people I saw were raising funds for UNRWA and basically Hamas. They were raising funds for Hamas. And yet, they are still being, it is still celebrated when their houses burn. And why? Because there is nothing in this world that you can do to satisfy these people. Because they are losers who don't want to work and have a proper job. So that's why they are unhappy, because they suffer the consequences of being lazy Fs, okay? And then they look at you and they see you're happy, and it doesn't matter how much, unless you give 100% and your life, nothing would be enough for them. So yes, they are happy. Of course they are happy. And with that, of course, always find somebody who is Jewish to blame. The final holy step of idiocracy. Find a Jew somewhere, like, you know, maybe they had somewhat of a influence in the most minor. If you don't find it, then make up a story, because nobody ever, you know, when it comes to anti-Jewish propaganda, they don't even bother, right? I'm sure you can, like in LA, there are many Jews there. I'm sure you can find some Jew that had a parasitic DI woke ideology that had infected him, and he was part of something, and like, you can do that. Instead, they're being lazy and just randomly attacking people. And it's crazy because even now, like, it's running on TikTok and things like that. I'm not on TikTok, but I saw people talking about it. So if it's reached Israelis, those conspiracy theories, then I guess it's a thing now. So they don't even bother fact checking or anything. Like, do some due diligence. I always think, like, the Talmud list. I don't know if you saw it. I made videos about it. I don't know how many times I've commented, that at least, I'm sure you can do a better job fighting like bad quotes from the Talmud or something you can take out of context and stuff, but at least remove the quotes from books that don't exist in that list, because like this is insulting. Like, I'm like, you have a book that doesn't exist in that list there. So how about you remove that? Something? No, no, no. They don't give enough. They don't like this propaganda. Like they don't care. They don't care. They don't care. It's not a real book. There is no book called Gachas. I don't know what's this shit. No, the fake book. I'm sure if you go read the Talmud properly, you'll find things that you wouldn't like and quote it at. But no, let's make up books. Talk about laziness. Right. So I have gathered some videos that I thought we can watch about the situation, but I kind of want to go through your comments as well. And the main reason I'm here tonight is because I really thought this is something that needs to be addressed, more than anything. Oh, oops. Shauna, thank you so much for support. The native tribes of the Northwest always had ritual fires and had systems of controlled burns. But Brittany from Harvard says fire bad, so Oh, wow, that's amazing. Yeah, that makes sense, though. Like, I love that. These people are... This is one thing that I love. Is a problem of prioritization, where people do not know and cannot point out what's more important than what. Like they would give the most minor right more importance than, I don't know, the right to stay alive. Like the understanding that there is something that is more important than something else, and you cannot treat the fishes and humans the same. It's like beyond them, because like obviously fishes have to have human rights that are, but it's not even the fishes, it's like way more than that. Ashana, they think in terms of punishment. They voted against Biden because he didn't condemn Israel. It's a foreign ideology to the West to think so reward. Yeah, they do. Also, they don't have democracies in none of those countries, so they don't know how voting works or what it's for. They just, I mean, they do a little bit, like the heads know, right? So you had the imams, the Shia imams, for example, I think in Minnesota. So there are two, and one supported Trump and the other supported Kamala, and they're like, okay, we got the Shia interest covered, so they have that. And obviously nobody actually voted to them, but to Trump. But yeah. All right, is there anyone here that are from California, by the way? It's kind of interesting. How you doing? How you feeling? Okay, let me see here what I've gathered. Yeah, how long do we have? 12th. Okay, it's not that long. Not that long. All right, let's go through some fun tweets. Here's the thing. I know fire is like a sensitive subject for YouTube. So if I show fires, like, they like demonetizing it, which is annoying. Should I take the risk? Yeah, I think I have to. Well. See, I love you guys. Things I do for you. Okay. All right, let's start with something like not exactly fun, more like more like, let's see. I mean, it's gonna be random, to be honest. Thanks here. Okay. Okay, so I think it's good that we're not seeing the fire that way. Why I might, get away with it. Come on, get bigger, get bigger. Yes, getting bigger, bigger. All right. So this is one type of people we have right now. Trump said that if Hamas doesn't release the Israeli prisoners, the Middle East will turn into hell. But before that, his own home turned into hell for him by Allah. You're saying many been showing it. So you think it's okay? So you're saying it's okay? I hope so. I had like fire before that got demonetized even after like I had how do I say it? Like talked to them and said, hey guys, you're being annoying. So there is music here though. Is that real or is it like I don't think this is real though. Okay, let's look at Gavin Newsom here. I have to say, like, his name, Gavin, like, reminds me a little bit of the word говядина, which is kind of fits him, which is like, the best way to support. Thank you so much, Inventory. And yes, smash the like, everyone. It's free. Okay, let's see what I see. Oh, no. Oh, investor, it's real. Wow. Those are crazy. Who would like... People are crazy. You guys saying it's real. Okay. Then we have to watch it again. Because like, I don't know if it's real or not. Because there are a lot, I saw there are a lot of fakes as well. But if you guys saying it's real, let's see. What's going on? That's insanity. Like to me, the crazy part is that there is somebody who's filming it. That's the crazy part to me. Like I wouldn't be filming. Why does it keep getting stuck though? See? Why does it do that? Yeah, like why are you here? Like I don't know. Just it's not my style, I guess. All right. So somebody Tesla the moment Newsom. Oh, let's see what he's saying.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California.
All right. Yeah, let's do that, Brandon. Let's go. Let's go on Discord. I'm gonna open and talk about it. Let's do it. And I also thank you for the support, of course. I see. I'm sick. Oh, my headphones are connected. I'm so sorry. My headphones are connected to my phone, so I cannot hear. Okay. Now it should be fine.
I want to know the answers.
No?
So I'm the governor of California and want to know the answer. I've got that question.
All right. Let's go. Daniel, thank you for your support. I have family in LA. Democrats can't admit they did this to themselves. Yeah, I also saw they are blaming Trump for it, right? There was some caricature of him blowing as if he's the one that brought up the fires. Like, these people are deranged. Like, it's clearly your policies, but who cares about reality or facts or truth? Newsom is to blame. Yeah, 100%. Cut of water, Trump will fix it. I don't know if it will be easy to fix, especially since like the damage is huge, and it's so hard to fix those things once they're being done. Because now that you have a DEI fire department, then what are you gonna do? They're gonna fire all of them? Like, you're gonna get rid of all of them? Like, who would you trust to a point? You cannot trust anyone because now the system is rotten. And like saying, okay, we're gonna do it from scratch, like, that's who's gonna do that, right? Like, I wouldn't trust anyone who lives in LA, to be honest, with anything. Like, they are all, this is the same in Gaza and stuff. Like, this is the problem when you get parasiticized and you get like, you lose your mind and you forget like how things work and you start doing shit like that. And these are people who would not admit they were wrong. It's okay to not admit that you're wrong when you are mostly right, but when you are catastrophically wrong, it's really problematic. So yeah, these are people that literally, like, they have, let's mean, like, you know, are irresponsible. Okay. Can I hear you now, Brandon, by the way? Don't hear anything. Need to figure it out. Okay, I'll figure it out.
Hello?
You're saying the firefighters are fine. Yeah, I guess most of them would be fine. But, you know, look at the police in the UK, right? It's like a 50-50 chance. It's weird. It's weird. Anyway, after enough time of being completely crazy like that, there is just no way back anymore, right? You have to completely bring people from outside and everything like that. Sorry for the cut-ups. Okay, Brandon, can you hear me? Are you here? Don't know if you
Yes, can you hear me?
Hello?
Can you hear me? Hello? Hello?
I don't hear anything. Weird. Okay, let's watch Gavin Newsom.
Can you hear me?
About it while we wait. While I understand what's going on with Brandon.
I want to know the answers. So I'm the governor of California and want to know the answer. I've got that question. I can't tell you about how many people, what happened. My own team saying what happened.
Hello?
And I want to get the answers. And I'll be candid with you, I wasn't getting straight answers.
Yeah.
I watched the press conference. I met with some of those leaders. We had my team start talking to local leaders, saying what's going on. Our state,
And you weren't getting straight answers from
I was
them.
getting different answers. When you start getting different answers, then I'm not getting the actual story. And they're assessing it. And I get that as well. You have to have a little bit of grace, back to the point. We're in this emergency environment and everything else. So I just want to determine the facts. But no one has any patience anymore. In this weaponized, back to the grievance of Trump, everyone else, there's immediacy. And lies travel the proverbial world, and it's hard to get the facts out there unless you have backing of those facts and you can communicate them soberly. And so that's what we're trying to achieve as relates to this. But I have 10 other things we're doing concurrently as well. I mean, across the board on recovery, on disaster assistance, getting the major disaster declaration. It may be the first one in U.S. history over a text with the White House within literally 36 hours. To get 100% reimbursement for folks out here. We've been working concurrently.
Hey, Brandon. How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Where are you? Where are you at? Let's hear you out. What do you think of this, Mr. No accountability or transparency. What does he mean? He's wondering what happened. This is your job.
Wait, what?
That's Gavin Newsom. We've been listening to him.
Uh, he's he's an idiot. He got as far as he got because he's handsome. But his predecessor, Jerry Brown, was a lot more effective, a lot more common sense. So because Gavin Newsom worked under Jerry Brown as lieutenant governor, we trusted Gavin, you know. But once he got the job, you know, he couldn't rely on his goods for too much longer, and we're seeing a lot of his failures.
All right. Can I
And there's
say?
going to be a political backlash. What?
Yeah, yeah. I kind of want to ask you like where you are at and like how you're doing. But first, I want to just say something, just get it off my chest, right? I want to talk
Okay.
about the DEI thing, okay? DEI is amazing because it finds the most incompatible people to the job, whatever, right? In the name of diversity. But like I had this conversation with Yoel, like we reviewed Trump's team, he had appointed women to like positions that women had never been in before and things like that. And we went like you have all colors, whatever, like, and I was like saying, you know what happens when you actually appoint people by merit? You get diversity. Shock, I know. Okay. So this is like on purpose. They're like fighting the worst black woman for the job, the worst whatever. Well, I guess those who are good for it would know that maybe specifically when it comes to fire department, men really do have more skill. I don't know. It happens. But whatever. Okay. All right, Brandon, where you are at
Yeah.
and what's your story and how you're
So,
doing?
okay, well, I live um in I don't know if you how well you know like LA but I
Mm,
basically live um like a few miles north of where the Palisades fire started, but luckily it was blowing in the opposite direction towards the coast. So there was some close calls, but I was able to. Well, I wasn't able to do anything actually. Just thankfully, nothing happened. So yeah, no, I mean, it started. It was a very windy day. I think on Tuesday
mm-hmm.
it was extremely windy. Like I saw like a middle-aged man almost get blown away by a powerful gust of wind. And I was getting my car fixed, and I was watching the news, and they were talking about the Palisades fire. And this is California; it's a coastal desert, so we're used to these brush fires and wildfires, and usually there isn't too much damage. There was a few years ago. There was a horrific fire in Northern California, closer
Mm-hmm.
to San Francisco, and that did a ton of damage. But that was still in a very rural area that was honestly like low income, so people didn't really give a shit about it. I mean, it was like devastating and horrible, but it was almost like for people in LA, it was like hearing about something that happened in Ghana or something. You're like, oh, that's really sad, but I don't care that much. I'll donate some money and stuff. But then here, we've been having like the last few years, we've been having fires like in Malibu, in the Malibu area, which is close to where Will Smith lives. And he like videoed a fire, and he's like, "Oh my gosh, look how close it is." And that was around the time that insurance companies stopped covering fire. So, because they probably would lose a shit ton of money. Um, but this time, I don't know how close you're tracking these fires, but there's two really big ones. There's the Palisades fire, which that's where Larry David from Curb Your Enthusiasm lives. I don't know. I haven't heard anything about his house or anything. And then, I mean, and Billy Crystal, a lot of like celebrities live in the Palisades. Um, it's like Beverly Hills, but closer to the beach. Right, really affluent. And then there's the It's called the Eaton Fire, which is by another. It's like 20 minutes northeast of Los Angeles in a pretty developed area. I don't know if you know, have you ever been to LA, but there's this area called Pasadena, which is, it's technically a suburb of Los Angeles, but it's pretty developed. And then if you go further north, you get close to the Angeles forest and the hills, and that's where the Eden Fire started, in the foresty area, and then it came down the hills, and then it just rapidly took over Altadena, which is north of Pasadena. Um, and people, that's also kind of an affluent area too. Like you watch the news and you see like, I saw this guy like, oh gosh, my garage burned down and I lost all 10 of my Ducatis, but it's okay. I'll build a bigger garage. We can turn this into a positive. But there's also a lot of sadness, and it doesn't matter, how wealthy you are. Losing your home is a huge deal, and it sucks. And I know of some people who've lost their homes. Some people have been affected by this. I almost thought I had to evacuate, and I had just hung up 3 paintings painted by my great grandfather that I just got from my mother, and I was like, great, this is what happens to me when I get family heirlooms. But thankfully, the wind blew it in the opposite direction. But yeah, so what's funny is uh, Karen Bass. Her last name is the name of like a type of fish, bass, and maybe that's why she decided to like drain the reservoirs into the ocean to save the bass. I don't know, but it sucks because these politicians, they don't take proactive measures because they're all about, like you're talking about, DEI and how they manage to find the most incompetent people. I think it's because they care more about platitudes and sounding like the most empathetic person in the room than getting results. And you know, uh, I think they dropped the ball in many ways. Karen Bass, even before this fire, she even cut the fire department budget by 2%. And now everyone's looking at her and she's like, why are you looking at me? Fires are natural.
Can
But,
I
you know,
ask
yeah.
is she fat or
No, she's not fat.
hmm,
She's
just really likes? I
seems
also
like
really
she's
like fish. When you put it that way, maybe if it comes to how much fish I can eat versus the people of LA, uh, I might relate actually. I don't know. Just-
maybe. I don't know. But
But she's not fat, so I don't know. How much fish
yeah.
can you eat? You just need the
No.
several. Like, you take the 2%
Oh, okay.
budget cut that you take, like the money that you're taking away from the fire department, and instead of like draining the reservoirs, just use them to buy yourself fish. I don't know, but okay.
I see what you're saying. You're saying you think
Okay.
she was motivated because
I
she
don't
loves
know.
fish that much?
Maybe.
She wanted to she wanted to drop the price of fish. I don't know if
But
she
I
even
think she
eats local
could
fish.
get money more like easily than like, she clearly doesn't care
I don't
about
know.
everyone else. She only had to guarantee she had fish, but maybe that was not her motivation. But I just wanted to put it out there as a theory. Anyway,
No, that's a good theory. It's
I know,
food
right?
for thought. I'll think about that.
Yeah.
I think it's just they don't care about results. They just, even Newsom, they just know to throw money at things like the homelessness crisis. Like it's actually, it would only take common sense to solve that problem. It's not the problem in solving the problem is that you have so many people who are actively slowing down progress in solving that problem. It's common. Anyone with a brain could tell you that all you have to do is create like a mental health network, and you divide the homeless people up, and you divide them up into, are they a drug addict, do they have mental health issues, maybe a little bit of both, and you put them in a compulsory you know, detainment, but meant to help them. And then they can graduate out of it if they show that they can live independently. You can have programs to teach them how to have like independent living skills. But no, we don't want to do that because that's, it's a free country. We can't arrest people off the street. But, what's better, helping people or letting them, you know, live on the street and shit on themselves,
I think
So
it's a wording problem. You should have said like we're housing them, and then it's like
no, I'm trying to figure out like a way, like I want
like
to
instead of
draft
saying
like,
arresting, you just say we're housing them. It's like kind of the same. Like
well,
when you're being arrested,
isn't
you
that
have a roof above your head usually. So
right? And isn't that how they handle it in Israel? Like, in Israel, you don't see people. I mean, you also, I think, have less drugs, but you don't see people talking to themselves on the street like that unless they're davening or something. But you don't see like, you know, crazy people wandering the streets because if they were, they would probably get put into a mental health institution, right?
So actually, to be honest, I've went when I was in the Knesset the other day. I've met someone who she's a private citizen, and there was a discussion there about addiction. And as a private citizen, she managed to house like at least one homeless person that I've heard of. Like she said, she talked about somebody specific, but it sounds like it's something that she does, and she does it as like a private person. I didn't have my phone battery on. I was like I didn't have phone battery, so I gave her my number, and I kind of told her to contact me because I told her that like homelessness is like a real issue right now, which I would love to hear about what you do and how you do it, so we can all learn globally. Of course, she didn't text me, but So that's a different issue, though. Yeah.
Yeah, that is a different issue. But I think the problem is it's incompetent governance, and there is a political backlash. The problem is this is
Mm-hmm.
the main problem. It's not cool to get things done. It's not the hip thing to do. It's not like if you go to a party in LA,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be you have to have your head the furthest up your ass to fit in, or else you're like, you have bad vibes, Like,
Interesting.
you have to be the most empathetic. Like I was at like a party
Mm-hmm.
and my friend, he used to be like a conservative politically.
He used
And
to be, so he's like brain dead now.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't want to put him on blast. I don't think anyone I know will actually see this stream.
It's okay. I
But
said it. You didn't.
okay, but anyway, well, he started dating this girl who she's a black woke Christian. Like she's a progressive Christian, I guess is what they call it. And
Well, so is the Pope,
she,
so I cannot blame her. Listen,
yeah,
if
she
the
thinks every
Pope is,
problem comes down to being black.
well,
I
the
almost got kicked out of the party because I was like not going along with it, but I should have just changed the subject or something.
yeah,
But yeah,
there are real problems with being black. Especially, like, I don't understand like people who move to Europe and stuff like that and don't understand how problematic it is that they're black. Like vitamin D deficiency. Have you heard of it? It's a real thing. Of course, it's worse the other way too, but yeah.
it's ridiculous because it's victim mindset. And yes, America has like a history of treating black people poorly, I guess, but we also gave black people the freedom to like rise above but it's easier to just like dwell and blame everything on racism. And I'm a brown Jew, so I'm not even like the whitest person, looking like I don't look like the whitest person. I look vaguely non-white. So if I'm around a bunch of white woke people, they defer to me. I could say anything. I could say the most politically incorrect stuff, and they'll be like, "Wow, he's living his truth." We can't say, according to the rank, he ranks above us. But when I'm at that party and I'm talking to my friend's black girlfriend who lives in an affluent neighborhood,
Mm-hmm.
she, I guess, ranks above me in the oppression card game.
Right.
So
Because you're
Islam,
a Jew.
exactly.
I thought like being a Jew, isn't it like a cancel card? Like you can be black,
Yeah.
you can
No,
be
you can be a self-hating Jew, but you
not.
can't be
Oh,
like,
you still have that option going. So it's not out
yeah,
yet. It's still an
yeah,
option.
that's what you can.
Amazing. Okay. Good,
You
good.
can be a Jew. You can be a Jew who hates Israel, and you're like,
Mm-hmm.
wear a keffiyeh and everything, and say like, the problem
Mm-hmm.
is people in America, and maybe this is also true in Europe, when they think of Jews, they think of like, you remember that girl you had on who had a Nazi boyfriend?
Mm-hmm.
They kind of think of her visually, maybe. They think of like someone who seems very like American culturally, but gets to have sufganiyot and everything, and they have these quirky little traditions, but they're like a well-to-do white person. But that's what the average person thinks of a Jew. So they think, how is this person like? Yeah, the Holocaust happened, maybe, but it doesn't make sense that you could go from being in the Holocaust to coming to Los Angeles and making a life for yourself and raising your kids in Beverly Hills. How does that make sense? You're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be depressed all the time and think of how everyone's out to get you.
Right.
It
Makes
doesn't
sense.
make it doesn't compute, right? So they think of that. They don't think of a Yemeni Jew. They don't think of a if they maybe they think of a Persian. I don't think they even think of a Persian Jew. They think of the most like reformed Jew, like who's white passing and their parents are lawyers or whatever, and they live in a McMansion or something. They don't think of like you know other types of Jews, and they don't. I don't know.
I mean, you should have stopped at they don't think. No offense.
yeah. They don't think.
They just like they
No, it's
don't
true.
think, and that's it. Like, yeah, like there is not like Jude, blah blah blah. No, they just don't think. That's it.
Yeah,
They're bitter and they don't like thinking. Just the way it is.
exactly. And
But
LA is where people go to. They want to be rich, but they want to have like a chill lifestyle. So they come here and they sell they sell like face cream or whatever, and they make $1 million, and then they move to the Pacific Palisades or Beverly Hills or whatever. And then anytime there's an issue, they have to have the most bleeding heart about it, like and I'm sure there's so many people like the classic socialists who hate Israel and all that. I'm sure they're cursing these Pacific Palisades people too. Like, gosh, you want me to cry for these rich people? But
like, listen, I hear your pain. Like, I kind of, to be honest, like, I think when it comes to it, I just wanted to address it. I didn't plan to make it too much of a long live anyway. So just hearing you out is nice. I see you sometimes hearing the comments. So it's no, I get
right.
that
But do you have any
feeling.
questions?
Do I have any questions? It's funny, but my sister is a bit angry with me right now, but she's somewhere in the United States, and she had went to parties or whatever, and it made her pretty depressed, to be honest. Not because she's a Jew, at least I didn't hear that reasoning from her, but that it's like she felt like she couldn't be herself, that there is so much expectation to be like proper, and you cannot really express yourself, and that everything is kind of boring and shallow, and she just suffers from the lack of conversationalism, whatever. So maybe I kind of, it like what you told me just resonated with that too, but because she talked about
Yeah.
it just before I went live, and
I mean, it depends. If you want to be considered cool, you pretty much have to be woke. But if you want to be truly cool, like really cool, you can be whoever you want, and you'll find people who have, similar opinions or don't care. Um, but yeah, I mean, yeah, that's the problem. It's all. But what's cool is I do think politically there is going to be some kind of backlash unless it gets like squashed. There already is signs of it. Like this last election, people voted to increase penalties for shoplifting. But there's going to be a backlash because there's real life, real world consequences to having these woke ideas. And uh, like people who live in Beverly Hills are getting robbed and their house broken into. And then you watch the local news and the people doing the robbing,
Mm-hmm.
they're really diverse. They're not actually, it's not even that diverse, but they're not white usually. So it's like a conundrum. It's like a dilemma. Like, uh, and then you see on the
The,
news, you'll see like, and what?
like they don't want to, like it's hard to show it or something because it's where's the dilemma?
No, it's not. The dilemma is for the homeowner who is getting their house broken into because they are facing the consequences of their beliefs. They didn't think it would actually catch up to them.
Mm-hmm.
So now they have to secretly vote differently, vote harder on crime, and vote maybe even Republican or more conservative um, secretly. And then maybe they might have to live a
It's
double
crazy
life
that you have to do
because,
that secretly.
or,
How about speak up?
well, I mean,
Maybe be
for
the brave person. I mean, you're a Jew, so who cares?
exactly.
You're gonna get crucified anyway, so
No,
might as well speak up.
exactly. Exactly.
No,
But,
I'm
but
just
no,
like
it's,
this. That's how
it's,
you get to this problem to begin with. Instead of people like just putting in limits, saying this is shit, and like or like they were like nobody said anything, and now it's where we are at. So now we have to speak up
right.
because it's our job.
I think maybe, I think some people are speaking up, but
Mm-hmm.
I think either way, there's going to be a backlash because now it's affecting these wealthy, what we call champagne socialists or champagne liberal, like people who have liberal politics or socialist politics, but they live a pretty well-to-do lifestyle. Like they're actually wanting to handle the homelessness problem and the crime problem, but maybe they'll vote differently than how they talk, or maybe they'll try to like couch it in different language, like, "Oh, I'm getting robbed because of racism." I don't know, but it's. I think there is a backlash coming because people are getting sick of living like that. But if you talk to like, what the thing that annoys me so much is if you actually talk to like non-college educated Black people and like Hispanics,
Mm-hmm.
they're the most unwoke people. A lot of my friends are Hispanics, and I had to tell them what Latinx was. Like they didn't know what the hell it was. They never heard it in their life because it's so unnatural in Spanish. You don't say like we have a lot of slang, like Chicano, Chicana. I don't know if you've heard that before, or like puto, puta. Well, are we gonna start saying putex,
What?
Chicanex?
That's like
No, it doesn't.
that's swear words though.
What?
Put puta is a swear word.
Right, but it's a noun. You can call someone a puta
Why
or
would you do
puto
that?
because
That's
you're
impolite.
calling them. It's not polite, but it's language.
Is
So it's just, and Hebrew has a lot of gender too. It's just the way things are. But I don't know. I think obviously with Trump, that's another sign of a backlash. But yeah, anyway, I think it's not, we can't paint with a broad brush. There's a lot of real people in America. There's a lot of smart people in America. There's a lot of like, but when you want to be cool, it's all about being cool. If you want to be cool, if you want to be hip, if you want to go to the Hollywood parties and all that, you have to be like a huge bleeding heart. That's pretty much what it is. And you have to be like a fake person
mm-hmm.
to fit in, but that it's probably like that in many places. And then in Europe, like I don't think they need an excuse to hate Jews. I think it's always it's always there. And like here in LA, we have the government of Israel, Netanyahu. He's basically Trump. His son loves Trump, and his son lives in Miami, and blah blah blah. But we can use like the state of Israel as like an excuse to hate on Jews. But in Europe, like they already are like intrinsically motivated to do it. But yeah, it just and then that's the fun. Okay, Rebecca, here's one little before we go. One thing you may not know is in LA you have Persian Jews and then you have the Ashkenazim, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the Ashkenazim, they kind of built Beverly Hills,
Mm-hmm.
but then after the revolution in Iran, the Persians came and they took it over. They actually, so it's so funny. So Persians tend to be, they're mercantile people. They start their own businesses and become successful, and they have traditional values, Middle Eastern values, and they don't like buy into this woke bullshit or like platitudes or anything like that. They just care about like actual results, and so they're taking over, and there's like a divide. Like they're taking over. They're going to like Ashkenazi synagogues, in Beverly Hills, and like joining those synagogues, where it's where it's a cool hangout spot if you're a cool Jew in LA, and they're pro-Trump MAGA people, and so you'll see like there are like I actually know like have you heard of like Tiffany Haddish going to like I know her synagogue, and they at her synagogue they the Ashkenazim had a class for Persian Jews to teach them how not to be racist.
Did it work?
How do you feel about that? No.
I'm happy.
I think it's so yeah, they don't understand. They're like, first of all, you're telling us how not to be racist, and you're kind of talking down to us like we can't. But it's what's cool is so the Ashkenazim there, and I love both. I don't care, but I'm just saying it's funny the clash. It's funny to observe. To step outside of it and observe it. But they are pretty much when after October 7th and all this wave of anti-Semitism hit,
Mm-hmm.
they kind of just to use like a metaphor, they like laid themselves out in the middle of the road to get run over basically by it. But the Persians are strong, and they like have gone out of their way to defend, even though there's kind of a divide. Like Persian.
You are. Good, good. I mean, oh, wait,
The
wait, wait,
Persian
wait,
Jew's
wait.
face, there's a way different result than if you do it.
Hmm? What?
Wait,
I
can you hear
didn't.
me?
No, the last part.
No. Well, you know how like you'll see videos, there's the Palestinian News Network. Have you seen those where it's like some guy, he and a little camera crew, they go through Beverly Hills or whatever, and they bother people and say, "Are you pro-Israel? Say you love Palestine." That. Have you seen that?
Wait, one
Like I
second.
think it's called like PNN or something.
I haven't actually. By the way, people are saying they cannot hear you. Can you
Uh,
hear? I just want to wait to see that they can hear you. Okay, people are okay. It's okay now. All right.
uh,
So
well, anyway, you've probably maybe you've I don't know. I've seen it on X
test
and like on
time.
YouTube and
No,
stuff.
no,
But
no.
one,
Like yeah. I don't.
it's just some.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it's a guy. He even went to Congress, and I don't remember who he followed around, but he follows around people. he follows people around and like, yells at them and says like, say you're say like from the river to the sea or whatever, and he like kind of harasses them.
Yeah.
And he did it to this guy in Beverly. He did it to some random guy in Beverly Hills who I don't even think is Jewish. And that guy knocked him out cold. Like
Amazing.
it just, but anyway, like,
Did anything happen
it's
to
just
him?
to the guy who punched the other guy.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Did he
I
get
don't
like
think
a
I
good
don't think
citizen
anyone pressed
award?
charges. Obviously not. No, he was on the news. He was on the local news, and they're like, it was like the local Fox affiliate or something. They're like, look at this, like, like guy goes up to a man in a Beverly Hills restaurant with his phone and like asks him if he likes killing children, and then the guy punches him in the face. And they just showed it as like a funny punch in the face video more than any political context, I guess. But
No, that's great. That's
but
great.
yeah, no, and that's the thing that's scary. And another thing you may or may not know is in Texas, you're allowed to defend yourself to almost to extreme degrees. Like I saw a video in Texas where this guy was at a taco restaurant, and a guy came in with a gun trying to rob every single person sitting down, and this guy stands up and shoots him.
That's what you're supposed
And then
to
he
do.
goes over to the gun. Right, and that's probably what would happen in Israel too. And he goes up to the guy with the gun who's on the floor now, and he picks up the gun and he realizes the gun's fake, and he gets mad, he throws the gun, and then he leaves. He leaves the scene. And then the cops come, and they see the security footage and everything, and this guy, I think he ended up turning himself in, and they let him go because they're like, hey, he pointed a gun at you. And this guy's a legal gun owner and everything. So you thought it was a real gun. It doesn't change the fact, just because it's fake doesn't mean, you didn't think your life was in danger and anybody else's life was in danger. So they just let him go. But in LA, in Los Angeles, you would most likely go to jail for that. Maybe for a few years. So they don't incentivize you in Los Angeles to defend yourself. They incentivize you to run away, and hopefully, everything gets resolved, and then they won't ever catch that guy. And then if they do catch him, they release him. But here's one thing. Here's another thing. So you were talking about how there's no police, so people are looting. Thankfully, that's been kept to a minimum, because this is part of, I think, the backlash is, and I think the subtext of that is, so the police have been having press conferences saying, we're not going to arrest you and then release you. If we catch you coming to these evacuation zones, you're going to go to jail. Like, we're throwing the book at you. And they have to say it that way because they know that nobody's, in the past, nobody's taking them seriously because of the past couple of years where it's been catch and release. So I don't know if you've seen the press conferences, but they're making a point to say, no, there's actually going to be consequences this time if you try to loot. But the subtext of that is they have to say it that way because people otherwise won't take them seriously.
Of course.
It's ridiculous, but I think it's so far it's working. There's only, there's been like, I've only heard of 20 arrests so far, and they're finding people with guns, like illegal guns and like drugs and stuff, who are obviously going to loot. But they really are taking it seriously. I don't know if like it's a classic example of like people, like affluent neighborhoods getting the most protection, or if it's really like, or maybe it's both. It could also be like a backlash to the soft on crime. But and then Gavin Newsom, before all of this, he's been sweeping the streets. He's been clearing homeless encampments because the Olympics are coming. So all of a sudden, his woke principles disappear when So I think there is a backlash. Hopefully.
I heard they did the same when the Chinese ambassadors came or something.
Yes, yeah, in San Francisco, yeah,
and
same thing. So I hope that these politicians, no pun intended, but I hope their feet are held to the fire after this, because I think Bass has been very like rude. I think like she was asked like to answer for cutting the fire department's budget, and people are like, really kind of interrogating her at this point, like about the choices she's made, and she's been laughing it off and saying like, no, the fire department actually is over budget this fiscal quarter or whatever, like. But then you see the fire department and they're looking at her and they're trying not to be too, direct about it, but they're saying, if we need money, we know that we can ask the mayor for more money, right, Karen Bass? But hopefully we get more money so we can fight these fires. And but
Awesome.
I hope that because there are these real world consequences that are affecting the very people who voted for these politicians, I hope that there's a backlash.
Did he resign already?
No, that's a rumor. Trump asked him to resign, but
Mm.
that would take some humility. Newsom, we already tried to recall Newsom, and he survived that. But I hope people can see him for the difference between him and Kamala is that he looks like he could be a movie star. He's like got style, and I think that's what it all comes down to. I think it comes down to like a popularity contest. Like I think Trump is more likable than Kamala was, and I think that's as simple. Just to really simplify it, I think that's what it came down. But I think if it was Newsom, I don't know. Who knows?
Yeah, thank goodness they're both ugly, huh? You can
Who?
Kamala and Trump.
Yeah, but Trump is like he has jokes. He's funny. Kamala is like a zero. But it's. I mean, I think I hope that we can see. But do you have any questions about like LA or California, like about
Yeah,
this fire, like
I
anything like that?
do. Do you know what like how big is the damage, and also like do you know anyone who got affected by it?
Oh, I do know people who lost their houses and they don't even
Yeah.
know where to go. They're staying with family. And I've been kind of affected by it in a way because my work has been affected by it. I'm not going to get into what my job is, but like traveling and like driving around LA and like I live near the hills. I work with people in the hills. I work with people. So like if they're affected by it, I'm affected by it. But uh, but yeah, no, I know a few people. One of my close friends had to evacuate, but thankfully that fire blew in the opposite direction and they were okay. But that would have been devastating to them if they lost their house. That's pretty much all they have. And then I know there's a young person. I'm not gonna like totally say anything that can make them identified or anything, but a young person I know from my synagogue, he was going to hang out with his friend who had just lost his house in the Palisades fire. And this kid, he plays games, he's a gamer. And I was going to say like, well, I told him like, when you're playing video games with your friend who just lost everything in the fire, don't tell him like, I'm gonna smoke you or I'm on fire. Be mindful of that when you're talking trash. So
Why? Those are the
hopefully I
best
didn't put those
jokes.
ideas in his head because it might strike a raw nerve.
No, but then it's like you can create a problem
How?
by like if that would trigger him and he cannot like face it right away, then later on it's gonna be harder to face, I think.
Oh yeah, no, I mean there's coping humor. That's what I told this kid. I said if you do say a joke like that, just kind of say it's coping humor, which I think is a Jewish thing. Like my grandmother would joke about she was a survivor, a Holocaust survivor. She would joke about the Holocaust. I've even joked about. I was with some non-Jews who are not very like intelligent people, and they were asking me about October 7th, and I forgot. I told some joke about it. Oh, they were saying so. My mom's friend visited the site of the Nova massacre after, like, as a tourist, after the fact, and these people who are not very intelligent, they were like, "Oh wow!" And my mom's friend is like a woman who's almost 70 years old, and they were like, "Oh wow, your mom's friend was at the Nova massacre." Like they thought she was like like in the rave, and I joked about that, like, yeah, she was, trying not to get shot and all that, and they were laughing, and then because they're not Jewish, so they were laughing, and then I put a really straight face on, like a really serious face, and I was like, it's not funny, but then eventually I leaned into the joke because it's coping humor. You can joke about if you have a sense of humor, but not everybody has a sense of humor. But you're right. I think it is therapeutic if whenever you're triggered by something, you should face it dead on because it's probably, it's going to manifest in another way later. I can joke about anything. And I like when people hurt my feelings. I go back, I reflect on it, and I'm like, why did that bother me so much?
I mean, can you imagine somebody developing like fear from smoked meat, like all kind of stuff like that, but just because their house got smoked? Come on, like just have this one
Exactly.
tragedy, and like did anyone lose their lives, or like it doesn't
Well,
make
a lot of people lost their lives.
I mean,
A lot of people
your
lost their
friend.
lives. I think. Well, no, my friends didn't. But I was like watching the news, and it was really depressing. It was like the story was like, yeah, there's going to be more and more of a body count as we identify the bodies, but it's taking longer to identify the bodies because of the condition that the bodies are in. So we're going to have to wait on dental records to come back.
It
And
was the same
also,
on
some
October 7th.
people who died in the fire,
My
right? And
mom's my
some people
mom's
who died in the
clinic
fire,
was contacted to recognize someone.
yeah, it's really disgusting. And yeah, but they were like going on saying like there's going to be even more of a body count because some people don't have families, so no one's looking for them, and nobody even realizes they're gone. That was how they concluded the news report, and it was one of the most depressing things I've ever heard. But yeah, it's. I mean, but I think hopefully, I did hear a story that a teenager was killed because he couldn't escape from his house. I can't. I mean, maybe that it hasn't been verified yet, but I really can't imagine dying in a natural disaster. I just can't. As a young person, I can imagine elderly people. There was one guy who even like chose to die with his house, almost like it was like the Titanic, like he was sinking with the ship. His grandson was trying to get him to go. His grandson was trying to evacuate him, and he's like, "No, you go. I'll follow you." And then he just stayed in the house as it burned down, and his the man's daughter found him like wearing a blanket and like all burnt up and dead. But
What would it have to be done to repair it? Like how much LA would stay LA after that? What do you think? Like, is there an end to the fires right now? Is there like what's going on? How they are dealing
well,
with it? And then I guess let's
that's a
let's
good
talk about
question.
that, and then let's talk about I kind of wonder about like what's the plan now? Like,
Well, it's a really good question because this is mostly affecting one part of LA, which is the Palisades, which is by the beach, and then there's also the other fire in the hills. But I know people who live like in the city, in the actual like city, who are totally unaffected by it except the smoke and the air quality. So most of the city will be fine. But the problem is there was no proactive measures taken to lessen the extremity of this disaster. So what do Democrats do? The only thing they know how to do is to just throw money at the problem. So now they're they're creating like a disaster relief fund, and it would have been so much less expensive if they took proactive measures. Or you know what, like I consider myself fairly conservative, but maybe there could have been some kind of, if the private insurance companies didn't want to cover fire damage, maybe California could have created like something that citizens could pay into their own private, their own fire insurance kind of thing. Except not in just like taxes that get pissed away, but like maybe like almost like social security, but for fires. I don't know. But yeah, they're just going to throw money at this problem, even for affluent people, kind of like COVID. And I'm fine with. I want people to be, made whole again. Uh, but it's that neighborhood was the Pacific Palisades was very beautiful, and that's a sad aspect to it. And not everybody who lived there was rich. Some people just inherited. They were lucky enough to inherit their house from their grandparents or whatever. And they're actually, as people, they're not personally very wealthy, but they happen to have that one asset that's now gone, and they may not have had fire insurance. But yeah, California and Los Angeles, they're creating like a relief fund fix this. But it's people. It's crazy. I never thought this could happen in LA. I mean, when like I said, we saw it happen in Northern California. That made more sense to me. But here, like a whole neighborhood being torched it's like, what is this? Is this like Paris in the 1800s or the Chicago? Like, this doesn't seem like something that could happen in the modern day. But I think, a lot of people have some kind of insurance and they'll be able to rebuild. A lot of people are wealthy enough to just rebuild. They've probably lost a lot of sentimental things that they're sad about, but I think we're going to rebuild. And thankfully, it's not the entire city. It's just a few neighborhoods, and I'm not trying to like lessen it, but it's not the whole city. It's not the whole city that's going to crash out. I mean, economically, LA isn't a place where, even before, it's not a place where the people who make it here are not super dependent on the government. I hate to say, but it's, maybe, and you know how the Democrats are, they're not going to cut anything. So this is actually, ironically, we have a rainy day fund in our budget, which Gavin Newsom has been dipping into. So hopefully we do have enough in our financial reservoir to like fix this problem, but to make people whole again. But we'll see. It's not going to make the city. LA is a place where people want to live, and it's a place where it's always going to be here. I hope that answered your question.
I like your optimism. I kind of, I've been listening to you and I've been kind of trying to figure out, like sometimes you had like those woke moments. Like how woke would you consider yourself? Because I guess it like rubs off on you, right? This like woke thinking style.
Well, what do you mean by that? Is woke being optimistic? I think woke people are kind of depressing. They think everyone's out to get them.
No, I don't mean that. I mean just like, the don't mention smoke. I mean, it's just stuff, and I don't know.
No, no,
It's
no, no.
not woke.
I
And
actually
like a
no.
lot of like
It,
race issues, like
in
Ashkenazi
my
versus Persian
social,
Jews, which is fine, which is funny to be honest. I'm just
yeah,
like,
that's politically. It's politically incorrect for me to bring up the divide between, maybe not, but no, it's like in my social circle, I'm seen as like kind of a douchebag, and like I don't have any filter. And
really.
I'm actually, a lot of my friends, it's something I'm kind of working on, but my friends, most of them tell me, don't change, be yourself. But I feel bad. Sometimes I think, like when I'm around woke people, like that one, my friend's girlfriend, she didn't refute anything I said. And she's a very educated person. She's a therapist. She has a master's degree, and she is working as like for the government as like a mediator, like a social worker kind of thing. But she didn't refute anything I said. She just told me, Brandon, I want to end this discussion right here. And guess what I said?
Mm.
Which kind of, I don't want to make myself a pariah in Los Angeles, but what I said was, uh, she was telling me, everything comes down to race, and white people commit more crimes, yet black people get arrested more. When you watch the news, it looks different, but anyway. So she was telling me that, and I brought up how, I was saying I love America, and she was getting annoyed by that. She was getting annoyed that I was saying I love America. And you've talked about in your videos before, like, America was founded kind of on Jewish ideals in many ways. Like, we're always looking forward, self-reliance, that kind of thing. yet we still take care of people. But anyway, so I was saying I love America, and she was getting offended by that. But I was saying, look at Barack Obama. He's black. And then I brought up how he was raised by white people. And if you read his autobiography or other biographies of him, you'll learn that he had to learn how to act black when he was getting into politics in Chicago, so he could like fit in. And I brought that up, like, and that's when she shut me down. She was like, "Brandon, I think we should end this discussion here," because I said that Barack Obama had to learn how to act black. but so I'm not like I say, but I'm trying to. But the thing is, I don't want to, end up sounding woke or anything. But I'm trying to not bring up such contentious things at parties and like be someone who gets, because I think I don't want to end up becoming someone who's pissed off all the time because of the news. You know what I mean? I just want to have my beliefs and live them out without, and also people, I feel like I don't know, I feel bad for hurting people's feelings sometimes. I feel bad for like turning like to making social situations tense. It's one thing with my family. I can do it with my family easily. My brother is kind of more on the Democrat side, but he's like, there's nothing that's gonna split us up. But people I'm not related to, who I'm not really that close with, like, I don't want to turn a party into an awkward situation. So that's like one of my Goy New Year's resolutions for 2025 is to like not bring up politics and stuff like that into like, yeah.
Yeah, you
But what
sound
else were you saying? You were
traumatized
saying
and
you're curious.
castrated. Or whatever you said is word.
What?
Brandon, we need to have a serious talk right now, okay?
Yes.
What do I repeatedly say on my channel? Or in? I don't know.
I don't know. Do you have a catchphrase?
I say speak up while you can. Talk. It's your job. And when somebody comes to you with a stupid idea, present an alternative. And you are talking on my channel here, Brandon. First of all, I understand your trauma. It sounds like real trauma. I don't want to gaslight or anything.
My
It's
trauma.
it's real, it's real.
Now
And
you're
saying
using the woke. Are you using
that you don't want to offend anyone, and that's your resolution for 2025 is not to talk about politics?
because you know what? People, I understand, and I know Gad says the same thing too. But people, they don't listen to me. I actually worry that I make the goyim, like I worry that I make them hate Jews even more. Honestly, I think they might see me and go, "Wow, is every Jew like this guy? Is every Jew like?"
Don't worry about it. They want to kill you anyway. It's like no matter what the LA people would do, no matter how much fundraising they would do for Hamas would still be happy to see them burn. And sweetheart, no matter how nice you'd be and how exemplary kind of Jew you'd be, they still would burn you in the end of the day. So, the more you try to be good, the higher the standards will become, and at some point you would not be able to uphold those standards, and then you'll get options are many.
Well, Rebecca, are you worried about like how many videos would you make about that are critical of Christianity when that could possibly put you on David Wood's bad side, or maybe even
I have many
Apostate Prophet's bad side?
No, Apostate Prophet
you have, but
I made fun of like.
Is it?
Well, you are not there. It's a private conversation.
He seems to have a.
No, like I talked
Well,
about.
Didn't he convert to Christianity?
Well. No. His wife is Christian.
No, that's cool. I've seen I like your Christian videos, but I've noticed like David Wood and Apostate Prophet, they had a video, like a live stream where and then they had this weirdo on who didn't really know anything, like not to be racist, but like very stereotypical goy. But they had this live stream about like where they were listening to the Tovia Singer debate with another Christian guy or a Messianic Jew. Mm-hmm. Did you see that? and they were like, and yeah, Tovia Singer made some arguments that you could easily use logic to tear apart, but um, I don't know. I was like, I wonder if Rebecca was on that stream. It would be so interesting. I didn't really listen to the whole thing,
No, I
but
wasn't.
they have this one dude on. What?
I wasn't there, but like, no offense, there are so many idiotic things in the world, and I made fun a little bit of Christians, but then I realized, like, and I also don't do that much with Islam either. I don't like roast Muslims or whatever, right? Like, not that much, not like other channels. Like, it's interesting to me. I also think it like numbs you down to bad ideas when you talk about so you call it communism, Islam, whatever. And Christianity has its limits. Let's say it like that. And I understand it like firsthand, but is it like my number one issue? Not really. Do I think that by making fun of Christianity, I'd make like Tovia Singer's cause is to convince Jews to not become Messianic Jews and things like that, to not leave Judaism. That's his goal, right? My goal is different. I don't care about your personal decisions. My goal is to make sure that dangerous ideas do not become the norm. My goal is to speak up, and my goal is like to show reality and talk about reality and things that are not necessarily pleasant. Islam is awful, but it is also pretty basic, because every tyrant acts the same way, but somebody had the extra step of making it a religion, and then he paved the way to all the tyrants after him to have it easy, basically. Like Stalin was a god, but then it didn't last, and Hitler wanted to be a god, but it didn't manage to be, it didn't get there. And every one of them is like that. And Muhammad did something that he literally did it in a way that, or or it's accumulated knowledge, but like tyrants are like, I got you, bro, kind of behavior where they figured out. And then that's why I said, like, for me, when you talk about Islam, there are two type of people: the idiots, Muslims, and the Muhammadans, those who understand that this is the mass control tool that allows you to do whatever you want to do. And this is like this is another way to look at Islam, but I see it as a tool, and people need to understand like what is this, what it allows, and things like that. But I hate the concept where people are like, oh, Islam. To me, it's like, after all, you saw like how common it is for people who are so obsessed, like, with having relations that they shouldn't have, to get power, just so that they can have those relations, and maybe that's what motivates them, why they get power so often, that and being psychopathic, obviously. It's just, it's just something that certain people would do, and sometimes they do it in a way that is really, really hard to take care of. So to be honest, like, Muslims are like, to me, they are retarded and idiots. But Christians have their own kind of, and by the way, Judaism as well. I
Right.
also criticize Judaism a lot, saying like some ideas in Judaism are just
100%.
moronic and stupid.
I love how you talk about the Mashiach and everything. Like, I'm so annoyed when people, like religious Jews, put everything into like the Mashiach, like they think it's going to be a person. Or even what really scares me is when they think the Lubavitcher rabbi is the Mashiach. Some of them, like Chabadniks people, they because they're may turn into Christians in a way,
They
but
are,
for
right.
me, when you talk about, right, exactly. And I think they get a lot of, like, when you look at the Hasidim, it's so funny. People don't understand, especially non-religious Jews. Like, Hasidim, it's supposed to be like a spiritual, like almost like it was built from Kabbalah.
No.
You know, it's supposed to be like this
Yeah.
mystical thing.
Hmm.
Well, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't
But
hear
then
that part.
it became. Oh, okay. Well, it became like a, you know, like a rote, like it became like a routine tradition based thing that people don't even think about what they're doing. But I like when when you make these Christian videos. For me, they're primarily entertaining, but they also probably teach a lot of people about the differences between Judaism and Christianity. I think it's
To
educational to a lot of
me,
people. But
yeah, there are several. Like, I also understand like the conceptual way. Christianity was created in an era where a lot of Jews, let's say it like that, were under the thumb of the Roman Empire and they felt like they had no power. And this is when you start praying as an action, right? And you see the same phenomena rise up in many different scenarios where people cannot do anything, so they start putting all the emphasis on prayer and hoping and shit like that because they feel like this is the only thing they can do. It's great when you're in jail. It's awful when you're out of jail. And that's the problematism, like the problematic nature of it. Another thing about like specifically Christianity is like a lot of like it's a levels of abstraction. I know personally, like speaking with some people really struggle with the idea of having a God without an image. And Christianity gives you that. So in a pagan world where people had a person, and without that person they could not like
yes,
comprehend the abstraction, then Christianity but to this day there are people who don't understand like how can you pray to something that's abstract, and it's complex.
I love that. I love when you talk about that. I love when you talk about that because a lot of people don't understand that. And Judaism is such an intellectual religion, like, and not to be snobby or like pat ourselves on the back, but it's true that like Elohim, like God is everywhere. God is the creator, but you could take a lot of like poetic meaning from these principles. And when you look at Christianity, it's like you can make a joke that they don't have the intellectual capacity to grasp that, so they
It's
had
okay,
to
some Jews don't
personify God
either.
into Jesus.
And yet they like when a rabbi starts talking about like instead of like what is God and they're saying who is God, I turn on the screen, like I like stupid. It's
When
not
they
even
say who
like
is
even
God,
like who what, like I saw somebody who is a rabbi is like Judaism brought in the idea of that God is a who and not a what, and I was like, oh my god, this rabbi should get his rabbi credentials taken. um
right?
like
But do you think like
it's like it depends on the level and the population and things like that. A lot of people struggle with abstract thinking, and the problem with having an image, and this is something that had paralyzed Christianity for a long time and they suffer a lot from it, is that because you have an image, there is a lot of room to argue. Like, does Jesus have a blue hair or pink hair? Is a good enough reason to go kill each other. And this is the problem with having an image, right? So that's the
yeah,
downside of it.
well, it becomes an idol. It becomes an idol. But also, like that's what scares me about the Lubavitcher Rebbe, as they call him. They thought he was perfect. They thought he was like almost supernatural. So when he died, it was a huge blow to a lot of people, like to a lot of people's psyche. But that's what scares me is that kind of doesn't that like make that defiles Judaism, right? That
No, but like Christianity is a
you
natural
worship a person.
product. Okay, Christianity is a sort of a natural product of Judaism, but also like Jews, I'm sorry, that have an image. You don't need a person to have an image. Like there are also Jews like that who create an image. So
When
Exactly.
when
It bothers me that
when you guys say an
they
image for Christianity, like, what do you mean by that?
image means
Jesus,
Well,
but like that's
okay,
also that's an
crucifix,
understand that, but like no,
oversimplification.
Mary.
but
So you have
nobody.
Jesus. You have Jesus, who's the Messiah,
That,
and then you have Mary, who was able to give birth while
Wait,
being a
that
virgin.
Brandon,
that's more
wait.
Catholic. That's that's more Catholic. But for they didn't have photos. Like all those images are just like, like that's just their perception of what they think, quote unquote, what he looked like, so to speak. Nobody, there's there's a lot of like racist white people that think that Jesus was white.
Like the fact that somebody has to believe in a Jesus, just the name, is already an image.
Exactly.
That's the image. Like just the name Jesus is
an image. So you're saying that the name is an image.
The name is an image. Yes.
Like, look at.
But how would that be different from Elohim being an?
Because that's
Elohim,
not the actual
name
of God.
Jews avoid the name of God as much as they can. Like there is a reason that do not speak.
But he does have a name though.
It does, but it's also like just existence if you translate it. Okay, it's like an and as a proper Jew, you should avoid invoking any kind of, like mentioning God's name, talking in God's name, anything like that. Talking about God even. It's like those who are really like proper, like they would try to avoid bringing up God at all, almost, right?
Even Reformed Jews, like the most Reformed Jew who loves Christmas, they'll write in English. They'll write G,
no,
dash
not about
D.
that,
they won't even.
Because that's just
They won't even write the.
I'm not talking about euphemisms. I'm not saying like they're saying this instead of that. I'm saying not at all. Like do not bring God
but
in
I'm
any
saying,
way, shape, or form.
Right.
Like
You're not saying how. No,
I think in the other way around. Like not writing and saying G dash, like that's just being a moron. No offense. Reforms
exactly. I always
ever, by the way. I want to. Shana
well,
is
everybody,
saying, wait 1 sec. I want to read Shana's tweet, like super chat here, and thank you for your support. Ami's house had an episode about this too. You can't fight Ishmael the same as you fight Esav. They move different. Persons know this. Yes, and this is also part of like in this channel, like Jesus can be dangerous as a concept, because like this obsession with specifically Jesus, right? This name Jesus, like you have to believe in Jesus, like, but that is a different kind of threat, which is right now not very realistic anyway, than people who not only that they have Muhammad that you have to believe in, you also have an awful set of morality that you have to follow attached to it. So that is way worse. So yeah, that's also important. So with all due respect to Christianity, and Judaism as well, are there enough Jews who are, it's complex, it's complex. A lot of Jews don't have the ability to have this sort of abstraction. You see G-D bullshit as a result of that.
Yeah. What bothers me is when Jews. I love how Jews are usually able to have conversations, and they tend to be pretty enlightening. But there are certain Jews like Balchuvas and people like that who become overzealous, and then they kind of act like Christians. It really bothers me when Jews act like Christians, or even act like Muslims sometimes.
They do,
but then they say things like there's eternal. Well, they say things like, Gehinnom, there's like eternal hell, and that they take the poetry out of it, and they think, no, God will actually literally curse you if you're treif. Like they start thinking like Christians, and it bothers me. We're supposed to be different. We're supposed to be special.
Wait, Brandon.
And then they kind of ruin it.
Brandon. All right, Spyra, welcome to Rebecca's Bosses Club. Somebody's had a comment that I wanted to react to. Oh, why Jewish obsession with Abraham? Same correlation with Jesus. Jews, Israelis, oh my God, nobody talks about Abraham here ever. Like literally ever. Like literally nobody talks about him ever. Just to make that clear. Like Naruto, I don't know where you're living, but no person. Like like obsession. There is no obsession. Like literally nobody ever talks about him. Like barely at all. Anyway, just one last super chat here that I wanna read from Samantha. Thank you for your support. Rebecca, can you watch Caesar's Messiah? Do a video. I'll try to remember that. Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. Go ahead, Brandon. And bet you have a lot in you.
No, well, yeah, it annoys me when Jews act like Christians. But the like Chabad people talk about Avraham a lot. But he's in the Torah, it's important. But they see him, he's the creator of, they call him like, they think he's the creator of Judaism.
Who?
But the thing is, it's Avraham. They think he's the first monotheist,
Who talks
But
about it?
Chabad, people like that, like maybe Chabad, but also maybe like the Hasidim people too, like the ultra.
Every time I talk to Hasidi or Chabadniks, they never brought up Avram ever.
No.
Nope.
Well, I don't know. They yeah, and they yeah, I don't know. Well, I mean, there's so many contradictions too. But what I love about Judaism is that we're not supposed to see, our prophets as like perfect people. But then you have Jews, they see, it's either they think the Chabad rabbi is the perfect person, or they also take it literally. They take everything too literally. But yet they dress like it's 1890s Poland, They dress like, but they think that they're literally going to be cursed if they don't follow like a mitzvah or something. So, but I think I think what I love about Judaism is it's so intellectual. Like in the live stream with that I referred to earlier with David Wood and Apostle Prophet, and then they had that one dude who I don't remember his name, but he bugged me because he was such a jackass. He reminded me. I want you to watch that too. Maybe don't make it public if you don't want to. But yes.
I'll have you repeat that because I was reading the comments. One sec. What is Judaism without Avraham? Hence the word obsession, not by you, but their religion. It's just a founding story, man. Just chill. I mean,
like when you read like Moby Dick, I don't know how familiar you are with that book, but when you read something like that, do you think it's really about just a guy trying to hunt a whale, or do you find metaphors and symbols and poetic meaning in it? But that's the thing that a lot of people miss. But no, in the David Wood Apostate Prophet live stream that they had with this one dude who I forgot his name, but he wears like a beanie, and he just struck me as like a dude who he's like a youth pastor who I was creating this whole backstory in my head about him. He's a youth pastor who takes troubled teenagers snowboarding and then gets them baptized on a retreat or whatever. And he was being such a jackass. He was saying, look at how the Jews depend on the Talmud to practice their religion. And look how they depend on all these different sources that are so complicated that take several years to study. And he was trying to break down Hebrew. It was the most cringe thing ever. He was trying to break down Hebrew words. I don't remember specifically what, but it was so cringe. And even David Wood, he seems like he has a really good sense of humor, and I like his style. But even he was like kind of this guy with the beanie. He was supposed to be like a contributor to this live stream, but even David Wood would kind of school him and be like, you sound like an idiot. But but I would like to see your reaction to it. That'd be interesting. Maybe.
Right.
I hope, I'm pretty sure you guys know this already. There's like a million billion different types of quote unquote Christians, and sure enough, yeah, there's a lot of. I'm sure this is no different in Judaism. There's a lot of misrepresentation. So I feel obligated to sort of like say that,
No, man. There is no excuse for Christianity. No offense.
I agree. And also, we're also like criticizing Judaism.
Christianity is a lot about faith, and And the priorities there are just weird, if you ask me. But Jews who are the same way, who think they do anything when they pray, they're in the same categories. Like,
Well, if I can only obviously speak on my own experience. So from what I know and understand in terms of just keeping things simple, it's just, what do they say? The golden rule: just love your neighbor as yourself. Like the whole simplification is supposed to be just, love, and treat people with respect, and that's it from my understanding.
no.
So if a person doesn't do that, then they failed.
I don't know why.
I agree, but the funny
If you quote the whole quote, the impression you get from love thy neighbor is very different.
Would you mind maybe enlightening me?
Yeah, I think I have it somewhere close by, because I added that to my course. I added an oath section where I actually quoted that. So
Yeah.
here,
it's interesting.
you shall not take vengeance, nor bear any grudge against the children of your people, but you shall love your neighbor as yourself. The goal here is to wish them the best. It's not about respecting the bullshit that they bring to the table. It's about, if they're doing well, to be happy for them. If they are recovering from drugs, do not give them more. Like don't set them up and don't take vengeance, or that's the thing. Like, don't bear any grudge and don't take vengeance. The love here is to want to see them succeed.
That's what's so interesting is that little piece excerpt is actually, there's a lot of, I don't know who like funds it or whatever, but it's written on a lot of benches in LA, like park or like by bus stops and stuff. There's a lot of like, in the Hebrew. And I was actually expecting them to get like tagged and stuff and vandalized, but nobody has. But I think because a lot of people are too stupid to even know what Hebrew looks like. But yeah, it's interesting. It starts with but, or it starts with and, vav. So when you hear Christians, you never hear Christians say like, and love thy neighbor as much as yourself. I don't know. But yeah, no, it's just, I think that what I've noticed in life is that you could talk, maybe it's just because it's kind of my culture, but if you talk to somebody who's like just slightly Christian, they kind of seem a little kooky. But if you could talk to a Hasidic person and have like a real conversation with them and they have you can sense their like Yiddish sense of humor a lot of the time. And that's the difference I've noticed is you talk to someone who, is barely Christian and you feel like something's a little off about you. Like I think it comes down to, they really vividly think that like Moses split the seas, like that actually, like they think he had superpowers and he did that. Whereas most Jews, like, yes, there are some.
Brandon, I'm sorry, this is too much for now. Like too much of getting away from the topic. I just want to hear who's the
for sure.
Who's here, by the way? Who's the other? I just see B. ...
It says Billy.
Yeah, that's me.
Billy, oh boy.
That's me.
Yeah, I just
Randy, we spoke like once before.
Oh, we have. Mm-hmm.
I was you were trying to ask me how to invite people, and I didn't know how to.
Oh, okay. No, I think you're a Christian, right? Wait, let me read this super chat and then infinite oneness, Eastern religion like that of Hindu people or Buddhists are only ones that has no beef with Judaism. You are never get peace with so-called emperors. It's true. I know. Yeah. Thank you for your support. Okay, so I kinda. What are you saying? You cannot hear me?
Yeah, I try to be Christian, but I think the other perception about Christianity is that I'm trying to simplify, is that being all sinners since the fall of Adam, the perception is that you're inherently flawed. Thus, that means like the game is rigged where you're prone to make mistakes, you know, but you try to do your best, so to speak, if that makes sense.
I think Christianity was very like good. It's like Judaism, but with better marketing, like better,
It's not like
like
Judaism.
it's like a. Well, I mean, like they the thing is they dumbed it down. They dumbed
They
it down.
dumbed
But
it
like
down,
he's
yeah.
talking about like the Yetzer Hara, like that kind of
Yetzirah.
thing. I'm sorry for my bad accents, but um, I think
But
that's what
that's
he
not
was like
being a
referring
sinner.
to.
That's different. That you're not
It's well,
doing.
you know how Jews believe in like the Satan, right? But
Mhm.
I think the difference is like Christians,
What Jews
like
believe in
again, like
Satan?
Jews, like
Repeat
I
once
mean,
more.
maybe I'm just, I don't know, maybe not the Jews but most Jews, well, every Jew believes in, but Chasatan.
Yeah, but the Satan is just a category. Like, he's just a.
It,
It's
it's
like.
we see it as like something within
It's not
us. We see
real,
it as
though.
like,
Yetzirah.
well, we see it as our lower urges, like our
Mm-hmm.
lower body.
No, some of
But
them are good.
Christians had to make it right. No, Christians had to make it into like it's a red guy with horns and a pitchfork. They had to like turn cartoonish it. They had to make it into like a cartoon. But I don't want to, look. But I think that's the difference. As Jews, we have these, and obviously there's a lot of Jews who
Brandon,
they
I cannot
don't
hear
really delve.
B. I'm gonna silence you now. I'm sorry.
What?
Brandon, I
Me?
like you a
Okay,
lot,
fine.
but I cannot hear B, and I want to hear another perspective and not just pushing our Jewish agenda onto people. I mean, I want to do it, but that's.
Okay, I'll stop. I'll stop in a second, but I think a lot of people don't even know where we're coming from, really. But I'll let Billy talk.
Brandon, thank you. B, please talk. Billy.
Well, I just try to be mindful, and I think just I don't know, just accepting of what people say because that's reality, whether a person's right or wrong, I just my handle is just respect it,
Yeah, I'll say like I'll sum it up, because Brandon, like I agree with you halfway, because you are doing the same thing when you are disapproving of a Satan as an image or Jesus as an image. Like it's part of it is also to understand that there are reasons that they are there even in Judaism, and then depending as where you are at, you understand it differently. But it doesn't, like, you cannot like just bring it, like completely take it off. The only thing is like, why is it an image? Because it's an image when it matters more that you believe in Jesus than being a good person. Like it matters more if the person in
Yes.
front of you it believes in Jesus. It matters more than whether they are law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, right? Like when this is the problem that Christianity has with the prioritization. They put the belief in Jesus above anything else, and that is where the idolatry comes from. If they had,
Rebecca, do you also?
yeah.
Well, I was wondering if when you see Christians and how they talk about hell, do you think that they're missing? Like, my opinion is I feel that in Judaism, there's no consensus about it, but I think our version of hell is like our personal hell. There's symbolism, like
So, okay, so let
like
me.
conscience, but what do you think about the Christian view of hell? What do you think
Okay,
about it?
I'll explain, but I have to explain like the Jewish view, where I think Brandon doesn't get it completely either. It's not about whether you believe in hell or not, or how you view hell. The question is, does it serve the purpose properly, right? Is it an educational way to encourage children when you don't have an answer to why you do not steal? Then is it acceptable to tell people that there would be hell if they steal? If that is something that this is what you have to do at that point, let's say, for whatever reason, personal health, whatever, so that you'd be able to send the message and get certain results. This is the question, right? Like, what's the purpose of it? Why do you need this Satan character or Jesus character? But when hell is being used in an improper way, it can be problematic. So this is where you're supposed to stop and like, hey, is using hell this way serves the purpose, right? Because no matter how idealistic you'd be, if you talk to children, and especially some, or I don't know, like not even children, right? It doesn't have to be children, but some people would not do the right thing without some sort of a threat or incentive or something, right? Not just for the sake of it. Unless it's so ingrained in your culture, like that's the thing. So saying that is also misunderstanding like the path Judaism had taken, so that they would come to the point where like, is there hell? Is there no hell? It doesn't matter. This is like the thing. So like it's also like important when you do that, like do not completely mark off not Jesus, not Satan, no hell, no heaven, if it serves the purpose that is right. But when it stops serving, when you do not understand as an adult that there is something that is above it, right? That it's more important for someone to be a law-abiding citizen than believing in Jesus, and you shouldn't necessarily harass somebody who is a good neighbor but doesn't necessarily have the same image of God as you. This is where it becomes very problematic. It's those are stepping stones. You cannot mark them off because you might lose way more than you gain.
I think, again, just trying to keep things simple from my perspective, it's just the best thing regarding the concept of hell is just a sense of accountability. It doesn't make sense to me if there was no hell, so to speak, quote unquote. Because then if there wasn't, then people could just do evil all their life, selfish, and suffer no consequences. It's a sense of accountability.
Right. So if that's your way of thinking, you need help.
Oh.
That's where you're at,
Well, I won't disagree.
So that's the thing. This is why you cannot just
Yeah.
take away things without thinking about why they're there to begin with. And like, unless somebody is in front of you where they are already in that realm where they do not need hell, and even if you promise them hell, they'd be like, I think I don't want to do something that would hurt the next generation, let's say, even though hell is promised. Then this is where it doesn't matter there is hell or not hell. But that has to come from the person and not from some. So if you have a system where you build that gradually, maybe you would have a larger percentage of that population get to that point where even if hell is promised to them, they'd still do the right things, quote unquote. But that's complex, and Judaism refined itself for thousands of years to get to that point, and to build this education system and like those. It's a very close up parental and like step by step kind of thing that Judaism has ingrained into it.
What about things when they mention, I think, who is it? I think it was Jonah, where he says, I've gone down to the depths of Sheol or something like that.
Well, my question is, in what interpretation would make you a better person? That's the right one.
What interpretation would make? Well, I mean, I essentially felt what I presented, for me at least, was just, it's just how I understand it. Again, it's just a God, is said to be a righteous God. So if he's a righteous God, there has to be, something wrong, and not with him. But what I mean is, there's people that clearly do evil things, as we've discussed before. You can't say, that the people, for example, on what was it, October, the event that took place in October, they weren't doing exactly the right thing, and I would have to believe that they're going to be held accountable for their actions.
See, that's a you problem. No offense. Like, you need to know that they're gonna be accountable. But
Yes, I agree with that. I do.
yeah, so that's where you're at. So Christianity fits you. It
Mhm.
takes
Yeah.
It's very complicated to get people to the point where we're gonna do the right thing, even if we get punished for it, even if everything would be taken away from us, and even if those who do evil get rewarded.
I mean,
And this is why
it's just
I say
the.
Judaism is a different sort of fundamentalism. It
Mhm.
is fundamental. But it's like the exact opposite of Islam, right? Let's say, like, you would do the right thing. That's where it drives you to, right? No matter the cost.
Well, as far as like a motivator, from my understanding, it's you don't do good out of a sense of fear. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like you're doing the right thing because you're afraid of being punished. You're doing good things because God is good, and God's blessed you with life. I try to, when I talk to people, I say, if you're alive, you're blessed. You got all your limbs. You got your health. You got a roof over your head.
But what if
You
you don't
do the
have
right thing
that?
because
What if life is unfair? Would you not do the right thing?
what and like
What if you don't have all limbs? Would you not
I,
try your best to
well
do the right thing and find somewhere
I
that you
I
can
could
do good regardless?
well right. And speaking, I obviously I can only speak for myself, and I would say yes, because again, from the understanding and perception of faith, that there is a higher power, that what a person goes through, it's he's not a he's not there to crush you, sort of, like even with Job, in the end, he sees, he reflects upon the heart, kind of thing. It's something that's very personable and custom tailored to each person. It's
Again,
it's not about the external, so to speak, but from within.
with the story of Job, this is a story that again, has a purpose. And the purpose is to give people,
Right.
the purpose is a story that is meant to make you stick to life and stay hopeful. And if you die,
Mhm.
you die,
Mhm.
but don't give up until the end.
Yeah.
That's the story of Job.
Yeah.
So this is where you understand
I
Yeah.
that the
believe that.
purpose of it, then it's a different story. It's not about he
Mhm.
gets rewarded. No, that's not the story. The story is he stayed and until the end, and it paid off.
Mhm.
So do not take your own life, even if those things happen. That's the story.
Mhm.
And if
Mhm.
you if you
Billy,
die,
I
you die.
believe that.
You know, if you die on the way, it's like, then you don't do that in the story because you miss the purpose. Like, you want to
Mhm.
encourage people to stick to life, because
Mhm.
just like like give, like, do this, that's the right thing to do, and then it becomes part of you and the way you view life and like your culture, like it really becomes ingrained in the way you are. This story has a purpose. Nobody promises that you'll not be the, you know.
Mhm.
It's like, just be there to the end, because that's the right thing to do.
Billy, have you ever done like a Bible study?
Oh boy. I would say like, yeah, but I wouldn't say that, I should probably I'll confess and say that I probably need to do more Bible study. Absolutely.
Well, no, I'm asking because I'm curious as to like how they teach like the Bible. Because I mean, Rebecca, in America, especially like in California, well, I don't even have to narrow it down. In America, if you go to like a Starbucks or something or like a coffee shop, there will be like sometimes you'll see like Bible studies or like youth pastors going over Bible like parshas basically or like with people. But I don't like sometimes I listen, but I usually just tune it out. But I'm wondering, Billy, like what is that like? How do they teach the Bible in your church or wherever you've gone to church?
How do they teach the Bible? I mean, no two lessons are ever the same. And again, this is why, I hesitate, because, I tried to humble myself before you guys and say, there's a whole bunch of million billion different types of Christian sects and all that, and the they all have their own different flavors, so to speak. So again, I can't speak for all.
Right. But in your experience, like how do they go over the lessons from the stories?
Well, so I so the church specific that I had been brought up in was called Calvary Chapel by Chuck Smith here in California. It's kind of a long time ago though. I that was when I was a child though, so I was sort of at
Okay, I disconnected. Sorry, these people, they're great, but it's getting late here. The world owes you nothing. You were already given the ultimate gift of life, same as all you meet. Yes. No, I did it on purpose, actually. It was not by mistake. I just let them talk, They seem to have a lot of questions, and I'm out. Yeah, I actually wanted to share with you guys. So I have a couple of clips that are not exactly ready all the way through about my upcoming course that I really wish to see you all at. So I kind of wonder if you guys want to see it. I mean, it's not ready all the way, but I kind of want to show it to you, see if I get some feedback. So I have like 2 videos. I have one part where I go through the course structure, and the other one where it's just like an intro, and they are both experimental yet still, so I kind of want to share it with you. So which one would you like to see first, the intro or the course structure, which is a bit more practical? Yes, no, there is a bit of a delay. You guys really like talking about religion. Or maybe everybody else ran away. Might be that. Okay, we see both. But which one first? The intro first, okay. It's experimental, so let's start. Yes, let's like. Thank you, investor. All right. Let's start. Let me tell you a story. Oh, that was kind of loud in my ears. Want to make it smaller, but... Let me tell you a story. Here it's too big. Bigger than the screen. Just put myself. And I'm gonna put me here. There is a bit of a black space, but we can now watch together. Yeah, I love it. Like I didn't even watch it. But you know, YOLO. Story of us. In the beginning, let me tell you a story. The story of us. In the beginning, there were humans. They lived and survived using their instincts. At some point, they have developed a very unique ability. Abstract thinking. In other words, they could think, whether they ate a forbidden fruit or went through evolution, whatever floats your boat. The bottom line is the same. It just happened. And with that newfound ability, they sat down and thought and thought and thought and thought and thought and thought some more until they had reached this incredible epiphany. God damn, our life sucks. And indeed, they sucked, unreasonably so. No matter how much we might not want to believe it, human life was unusually cruel. So after at least 100,000 years of experimental living, humans had reached the undeniable conclusion. Living by our instincts is a total failure. And having this big brain that requires so much energy really seemed like some sort of a cruel joke. Because from now on, we have to think and do things the hard way. And thus, I welcome you to join my course, Understanding Humanity. Sometimes we take it for granted, but without understanding what we've built over the last thousands of years, without understanding how what we cherish and love might be threatened, we risk returning to the life we had before, one where humanity almost went extinct. Yes, we are the only kind of humans left. The Neanderthals and many others had disappeared, and no, they were not at all stupid. What I offer is to take a journey to rethink what we take for granted and understand how the world around us is built and works. Let me tell you a story. Awesome. Okay, put myself back. No, actually, I have another clip to show you. I apologize for the misinformation, Purple Pulp. But, you know, maybe they left some records we can learn from. And yeah, I hear you. Okay, so the music is a bit too loud. You guys are excited to see photos of yourselves here. I like that. Okay, let's go. I'm gonna put the other video, which would be the course structure. This one. Yeah. Let's see. Now I'm gonna dive deeper into what the course is about and the course structure, but first some technicalities. The first round starts on February 2nd, 7 p.m. GMT. It's gonna be Sunday and Wednesday, 8 sessions that are live in order to tackle our biases and misconceptions and challenge our perception by encountering other cultures. We have to do it live. There is no other way to do so. Some things you have to do face to face. There are 3 components to the course. There is the workbook, the live sessions, and clips. The workbook is something that takes you on a journey, you and yourself with the workbook. It goes through you understanding what motivates you, what's important to you, to understanding culture and then religion and then geopolitics. This is something that is really hands-on thinking. It's unique. There is nothing like it. I've sent this workbook to influential people to see what they think and how they would react to it, and they loved it. There is nothing like it. It really takes you and makes you think. Then we have the clips. The clips are fun. They give you extra knowledge, some more depth, some ways to think maybe differently on a situation. The clips are there to mostly open your mind to possibilities and to expand our horizons. With that, there is homework to do before our first session. There are chapters in the workbook and several clips that you have to watch before we even start the first session. In the first session, we're gonna introduce ourselves. And I wanna say, we wanna focus on our differences. You see, us as humans, we have a tendency to see and to seek what's similar. We look at the world with the perspective of our own experience. A lot of times, I actually want to emphasize the differences between us so that we would be able to understand reality a bit better and challenge ourselves to, hey, what is another way to think about something when we do our analysis? The second session is going to be geography. We're going to look at some maps, I know, exciting. And we're going to select a geopolitical niche. Each and every one of you will select their own niche, something that would interest them. And between the second and the third session, you have to decide what is your question, what is your geopolitical question, and you'll be the one who would answer it. As we progress through the sessions, you can use that knowledge to answer your own question step by step. The third session is about politics, and it is also the session where you present the question that you have decided to research. The fourth session is about trade. The fifth session is about borders. I want to stop here for a second and just point out that before we talk about borders, we have a clip on nationalism, and we are starting to delve into the realm of religion. The sixth section is going to be social structures, love, demography, how we build families, how we build communities. Why is it at this point? Well, because I want it to be after we understand what is religion. When you do the workbook, you'll see that it gives you a different perspective on understanding also societal structures. On the seventh session, we're going to talk about economy and law. And on the eighth, we're going to graduate, woohoo, and you're going to present your analysis on the question you've asked. And we're going to celebrate and go ahead and change the world into a better place. See you there. I'm really excited to see you all there. Now I'm going to dive deeper into what the course is about. I muted myself, saying that kind of flowed. So, waiting to see you there. There is a, well, thank you. There is a link to subscribe, no, to sign up to the course below. And yeah. Is sound off? No, I think I turned it on. Hope you liked it, and I'm waiting to see you there. Kind of waiting to see if you have any reactions to it, to be honest. You've been having conversation about interesting things. Great, just need to break up individual topics. I don't know what you're saying, but clearly I'm not gonna put the whole coursework on YouTube. Well, thank you, Harry. All right, people, sign up. That's it. That's my message. Okay. Oh, you're saying it's too fast. Yeah, I agree. You have to slow down. Now I get it. I'm sorry. I didn't understand before. It's like, sounds amazing, but also, yes, I promise to challenge you guys, at least intellectually. It's great, you know. Yeah, I did put a lot of work into that. It's also like the whole design is branding and things like that. So yeah, that's a lot of work, a lot of investment. you know, so that I would be able to talk to you all face to face and, you know, make humanity great again, which is something that I say in a third segment, which I did not export to show you guys, so cannot show you. But that would be fun. So, okay, people, sign up. It is already almost 1:30 a.m. So it's definitely time for me to go to sleep. And it's funny, it looks like Billy and Brandon are still in the open forum, so they might still be talking about stuff. So you guys can join them in the Discord if you're interested in talking about the Bible, Christianity, Judaism, and things like that. All right? Yes. Good night, everybody.